So let's go ahead and dive right in and talk about getting ghosted. So, first off, let's just talk about the landscape of the industry and where we are in the world right now in 2023 and like talk about the big elephant in the room, which is the economy. So, obviously, the economy is down this year in 2023. It's a much different economy than it was in 2021 or in 2019. And due to this price sensitivity of couples, I've been seeing more and more and more couples, and what prompted me to like totally redo and revamp and do this whole workshop again from scratch and do this exercise of going to 100 of your websites and getting 100 inquiry responses again was I've been seeing more and more photographers that are being really frustrated this year specifically with a lack of bookings, with couples ghosting them, and with price shoppers. So let's talk about that. And so, what happens when the economy is down? And what do I mean by that? What I mean is like consumer spending is down right now. Everyone is a little bit worried. And so, money is just not flowing as freely. And so, couples are more price sensitive. And the truth is that all of us are probably more price sensitive. And so, the first thing that I want to say is I know like price shoppers is a label that we give to couples who we kind of say, oh, that they don't understand my value. They don't think I'm worth it. They don't see my value. And like we can label couples like that. But a more helpful way of understanding this is to really put ourselves in our couple's shoes and also realize that every single one of us is more price sensitive. Like, I know for sure I'm making purchasing decisions this year differently than I did 2 years ago or 4 years ago. And so, let me know in the comments. I'm going to pause right here for a sec. Let me know in the comments if you feel like you are making purchasing decisions differently. Because I think all of us, if we're admitting it, technically we're all price shoppers this year. To be honest, we are all, we all have to be more careful with how we're spending our money. We are evaluating purchasing decisions and what's going to be the best fit for us more sensitively, more deliberately. We're being more intentional and more careful. And so that's what happens when consumer spending is down. Couples become more price sensitive, and it means that we have to work harder as photographers to communicate our value. And so how that ties into initial inquiry responses and getting ghosted is that a response, like a way that we responded to a couple in 2019 or in 2021, something that worked before couples were being like, I really need to make sure that I am, making the right decision here. And of course, couples have always cared about making the right decision, but when it comes to the price factor, to the price sensitivity being up this year, the way that we responded in 2019 and 2021 may not be as effective anymore. And that's what I'm seeing a lot of photographers being frustrated with, of like the way I was branding myself, the way I was marketing myself, the way I have been responding that's always worked is no longer working. And now I don't know what to do. And so that's what we're going to dive into, of like what to look for and where to check and what to try out to overcome this new additional price sensitivity that we're seeing in the industry this year. Because the truth is we always have to adapt. And this isn't the first time the wedding industry has gone through a economic depression when couples are more price sensitive. And the truth is that there are going to be businesses that decide to adapt and decide to really put themselves in the shoes of couples and meet them where they're at with their additional fears and their worries that they're facing this year in rather than in previous years. And those couples are going to continue to thrive. Sorry, those photographers are going to continue to thrive and continue to succeed. And there's going to be photographers who decide, like this is a lost cause. Like every single couple is a price shopper now. I'm over it. And, there's going to be photographers that give up. And I want you to be in the camp of photographers that continue to thrive and continue to succeed. In order to do that, we all have to adapt. So let's dive into what are the reasons why couples ghost, just in general, like economy aside, actually, for a second. Let's talk about the problem here that we're all trying to avoid as photographers, because getting ghosted, it doesn't feel good. We get our hopes up when we get an inquiry, we excitedly respond to someone and we don't hear back. It's just like wah wah, like, and it starts to over time potentially erode at our self-confidence, make us, question ourselves, our value, our worth, question if we're doing something wrong. When really at the end of the day, it might just be something small. It might be something simple. And that's what I noticed in a lot of your initial inquiry responses, was just like a few tweaks here and there could make a huge difference from prompting a couple to go ahead and respond and keep engaging with you in your process versus, being able to decide, you know what? Yeah, I'm not going to move forward. And so There are several reasons ultimately. There's a lot of different reasons that couples ghost. Some small ones could be the timing is wrong. They think they are ready to book a photographer when they reach out. They have the best intentions, but then as soon as they start getting responses back from photographers, they're like, whoa, 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 this got way too real. I'm actually quite not ready yet. And they put it off and they procrastinate and they forget about it. And it just hangs out in their inbox as a little guilty secret. And, couples ghost for that reason. And some couples ghost because they get super, super busy, and they have crazy busy lives, and it just gets lost in the shuffle. Wedding planning doesn't end up at the top of their priority list all the time. I know for sure I've had couples inquire with me, ghost, and then 6 months later be like, "Hey, so I'm inquiring again." So those are like some little reasons. But what I really want to share here and keep our focus on throughout our discussion here about what's going to be the most effective way to respond to couples with your initial inquiry is the number one reason that couples end up ghosting, which is like, let's understand this. And we're going to do this multiple times here. Is I want to put ourselves in the shoes of a couple that is getting married. So, everyone here, go ahead and imagine for a second that you are um, engaged to your partner and you're trying to figure out how you're going to get married. And you are excited. You're trying to figure out who's going to be the best fit. You're checking out people. You see a photographer's work that you love. Maybe you see it on social media or somewhere, and you're like, oh, that's beautiful. You're like, you want to go check that photographer out. You go to their website. So from the website, if you're a couple right now, remember, you're not a professional photographer. You've not been to hundreds of weddings. You haven't done this process before. This is all brand new to you. You're really like a complete newbie. You're very lost. You're confused. You're overwhelmed. The online information is just inundating you. There's, 100 questions to ask your wedding photographer. There's this 87-step planning checklist that you have to figure out how to navigate. You're dealing with, family if you're having a big wedding, or you're dealing with, communicating with your family that you're eloping. If you're having an elopement, really put yourself in the shoes of a couple who's inquiring with you. It's going to really help all of us understand and be empathetic and be able to meet couples where they're at and help motivating them to keep moving through our process rather than ghosting us. So by hanging out on a photographer's website, if I'm a couple, I'm going to start to understand some idea of the value that this photographer could provide to us. I can see their photos and I can identify, oh, yeah, I really like their work. It looks good. I can start to get just a little bit of a sense of this photographer's personality, who they are as a person, and, maybe how they're going to help us in the process, maybe other services that they include besides just showing up and taking photos. Are they going to help us with a timeline? Are they going to help us look and feel our best? If they're an elopement photographer, are they going to help us find a location, help us with some of the planning process too? So I'm going to get some of that information from a decent photographer's website. And then I'm probably going to find some kind of pricing information. And I know I put up a poll in this group a few weeks back asking how many of you share your pricing information on your website. Do you share full pricing, starting pricing, all of that? That's a whole other discussion. But basically, no matter what, there's probably some kind of information about pricing in some way. And I know most photographers include a starting price on their website. And so, what I'm doing is I'm kind of weighing the value that I'm understanding, which is just a little bit. It's only the tip of the iceberg of the value that I can understand by just perusing a photographer's website. Even a really good website, it's still a website. It's still written to a large audience of people. It's not personalized. And I am just really basing it on my understanding of those words and what I notice as I scroll and when I'm looking for information that's going to help me figure out, is this the right photographer for me? Whatever catches my eye, I'm not going to even absorb all of the information that's on this photographer's website. I'm just going to understand a little bit of it. And because all couples, they have very busy lives, right? And so, wedding planning is exhausting. It's an extensive process, and but couples are constantly looking for ways to, be as efficient as possible because, no couple out there has the chance or is going to be motivated to read every single piece of our website. And so it's important to understand that as a part of this process too. Uh, so I'm getting the tip of the iceberg of the value, and I'm, getting some information about pricing. And if it's a starting price, that's going to make sense. And the reason why I would inquire is if the pricing information that I'm giving that I'm given as a couple on a photographer's website aligns enough with the value that I think this photographer could provide for me. That's what's going to make me inquire, because if I see pricing information that is, that I'm considering investing, considering spending, that to me, not knowing how this process works, not really knowing what I need, not knowing this photographer at all personally, if I'm seeing pricing information that, seems higher than the value that I'm understanding. And again, part of this might be that they didn't read everything, but we can't expect couples to read everything on our website. And so, but if a couple has inquired, it means that the pricing information that I've seen is in alignment, or the value that I'm seeing that this photographer can provide for me is higher than the cost. That's what will make me be like, okay, they could be a good fit. So I inquire if I'm that couple and I'm curious, I'm like, okay, this could be a good fit. This photographer could work for me. But the truth is I don't really have quite enough information to be sold on you yet. And why would I? Again, I don't know who you are. You're a complete stranger to me. Even if your website is personal, even if your social media, you share about yourself all the time. Maybe I've been following you, maybe I haven't. I don't have a personal relationship with you yet. I'm just worried about me at that point. If I'm a couple on your website, and if I'm a couple inquiring with you, I'm just trying to find the right person to photograph my day. Maybe you're it, maybe you're not. I think that it could work out. That's why I went to the trouble of filling out your form. From what I've seen, your website's done a good job of communicating enough value to outweigh whatever number I see on your website when it comes to pricing, whether that's a starting price or something else. So, in some way, what happens when a couple ghosts is, so that's the headspace couples are in when they inquire with you. And then what happens, the number one reason couples would ghost after initial inquiry response is that in some way, once I reach out to you personally, that feeling that I had when I inquire with you changes. And it will change at a very specific point. And this is the really, really key here and very important for understanding how to avoid getting ghosted. Is if the price slash cost, the actual number that I then see from you, isn't accompanied with enough understood, perceived, communicated, really clear value. And then that price and cost, if that starts to outweigh my understanding of your value, that's when it starts to feel like, oh, maybe this isn't a good fit. That is when, as photographers, that's when we lose the sale. That's when couples decide to not move forward with us. And, you know, that's that's when they stop moving forward in our process. So, but why do they actually ghost? Why don't they just tell us? So, the truth is that most times couples are so busy that, if when they get to that point, when they get that feeling, and it's not always rational or logical, it's usually not rational or logical. It's usually almost always an emotional decision. When couples get to that point, and they're like, "Ooh, I didn't, there wasn't more value communicated that now outweighs the number that I'm now seeing that I think I need to invest." And again, it's all about the couple's perception, and we need to be cognizant of that and really understand what are ways that we can communicate more value so that it continues to outweigh the perceived cost. It's all about perception here. And at the end of the day, like if a couple is not perceiving our value, that's something that's in our process of how we're communicating what we do. So when a couple gets to that point and they feel the cost is outweighing the perceived value, that's when, we lose the sale. But why do they ghost us? A lot of times, couples are just so busy with their own stuff. They just don't have the energy or the emotional labor. They don't know what to say. They don't want to be mean or rude to us. Sometimes they don't even think about it. It doesn't even cross their mind that they should go ahead and respond to us. It can, a lot of times, especially for millennials and Gen Z, it can feel like a emotionally laborious, like stressful task to email vendors that they reached out to thinking that they would be a good fit and like actually say and own up to the fact of like, yeah, I'm going with like I'm going with someone else. It's possible couples feel a bit guilty that they're like, hey, I really thought this person would be a good fit, but then I, realized that it wasn't a good match, that it didn't, feel like the value measured up in my mind when I saw the next number that I was shown that I thought that I needed to invest. And so um, that's the key here. So why couples stop moving forward into your inquiry to booking process. So keep this in mind here. And then we're going to dive into some examples and some nitty gritty of how to respond. But this is the key for your whole inquiry to booking process is when the price and or the cost, the number that they see seems more than the value from the couple's perspective, that perceived value in the couple's eyes becomes more than the value. That is when they stop moving forward. So, what does value even mean? What does perceived value mean to couples? So, perceived value comes in a lot of forms. So, part of it is your work. And I know a lot of photographers think that that's the majority of their value, is just what their images look like. But the problem with thinking that is that couples are not professional photographers. Like they understand work that they like. They can see absolutely they can see the difference between really high quality photos and low quality photos. They can identify big differences in style, but the truth is, there's a lot of couples who have a hard time perceiving like little differences here and there. And when they're perusing photographers' websites, they could be looking at a whole bunch of different photographers with work that they like. So it kind of is an even playing field. It's not necessarily going to massively sway someone one way or another in most cases. Um, that you use slightly different lenses or slightly different presets. They're just looking for work that they really like and they're not professionals. And so only part of the value that we provide and that perceived value to couples is our images themselves. And that's really, if you think about it, there's what value breaks down to is there's functional benefits and there's emotional benefits to working with us. And photos end up on the functional benefits side. And the photos themselves, like at the end of the day, they're not enough to differentiate us from our competitors because couples are not professionals who can perceive those tiny little differences. And so we need to move beyond the functional benefits, the surface level things, because technically any wedding photographer who gives you images is, you know, creating like a is fulfilling and answering that need for photos, right? So really when it comes to communicating our value in couples' eyes, a much larger part of communicating value is who we are and how we're going to work with them. And this is something that is very difficult to understand and for a couple to totally perceive from just social media, just our website. They might be able to understand if they've been following us for a year or so and, like they've developed an online relationship with us. But most of the time when a couple reaches out to us, they don't really know who we are yet. They don't have a relationship with us. And so, when it comes like the much bigger benefit, the emotional benefit of working with us is who we are, how we're going to work with how we're going to work with these couples. And what does that break down to? Part of it is personality and chemistry. Yes, they want to enjoy you being there and being a part of their wedding. They want to like you. Obviously, likability is a big factor there. There needs to be that kind of personality chemistry match, but that is still surface level, because at the end of the day, there's so many photographers that can provide right good photos and they're a nice person, right? And so if we want to like stand out and show how we're better, how we're different than the other photographers that this couple could be inquiring with, we need to take it another step. We need to like a huge piece, and probably a piece that I know a lot of photographers were massively missing in their initial inquiry responses. We're making sure that the couple understands that, hey, I see you, I know you, I empathize with where you are, I understand you and what you need. And so it's that empathy piece and then also the authority piece, communicating how much of an expert I am and my ability to problem solve and be there for you, how I'm going to address your fears and your worries throughout the whole process, how I'm going to help like reduce confusion. Sorry. How I'm going to help reduce confusion, create more clarity, and provide calmness to the stressful situation of getting married. How I'm going to go ahead and like guide you through this process and make sure that you're set up success. They make sure that you're set up for success to have a relaxed, enjoyable day and be able to feel like you're just safe to be yourselves and feel beautiful and feel like your relationship is, being really seen and understood, and that I'm going to be able to truly come alongside you and tell the story of your relationship and this amazing day that you're having and, guide you through this whole process seamlessly. It's going to be organized. I've done this before. I can, predict problems and help you avoid pitfalls before they even arise. I'm going to answer the questions that you do have and the questions that you wouldn't even know to ask. And so really communicating both sides of that empathy and authority. That's a huge piece that we need to make sure that we're leading with to communicate our value in our initial inquiry response. I'd say that's the number one thing that was missing. I'm going to show that here with some examples shortly. And so we need to in part of that communicating how we're going to help them through the process not just tell them the value, but start to show the value. We need to be clear about all the ways that we're going to help them. We need to remember that they've never been through this process before. Nothing is obvious. Nothing's like a default. Oh, you should know that I do that. You should know that that's a value that I provide. We need to be explicit. We need to be clear about every single thing. So if we want couples to book us, if we want to avoid couples from stopping moving forward in our process, we need to make sure that we're always leading with communicating value. And I'm going to explain what that means because I know communicating values, this is buzzword that's just thrown around in this industry. So I'm going to make it really tangible. But we need to lead with that value. We need to keep that perceived value always, always, always higher than whatever number that they're considering having to pay at that point. So this is key here for pricing psychology for sales. No matter what you are priced at, it's never about the number. The number itself is never the reason someone stops moving forward with you or stops ghosting you, or ghosts you. It's always about the difference in the perceived value and the number. It's all relative. Pricing is all relative. And, there are photographers that consistently get booked at 20,000 and there are photographers who consistently get booked at 2,000 and there are couples that will pay along the whole spectrum here. So how you sell something at any price point it isn't about the number. It's always about keeping that perceived value higher than the number they're considering having to pay at that point. And so as we move through the sales process and we work on wanting to get couples to book us at the highest package price possible before they sign and pay, and then throughout our process, we may want to upsell to them later down the road. We need to make sure that our process is equally personally communicating as much value as possible to keep that perceived value as high as we possibly can over what they think that number costs. So that's how you sell something at any price point. It is by asking ourselves, what kind of brand do I need to create? What kind of experience can I create? What kind of photographer and experience provider do I need to show up as? And how can I communicate that and lead with that value in every single step of the process of working with me in order to keep that perceived value of what I do 2 times or 5 times higher than that number that I'm charging in the eyes of the couples that I want to book me. So that's the key here. So no matter what you charge, that's how you can make hiring you and working with you feel like a steal, is we want to just constantly keep the perceived value higher than that number. So we need to do this at every single step of our inquiry to booking process in order to get booked. And this is a little harder now than it was a couple of years ago because couples are more price sensitive, right? So we have to work harder to make that perceived value higher than that number than we did a few years ago. And that's why a response that used to work may not work now. And we need to keep doing that. We need to keep our perceived value higher than what a couple feels like they're paying us for, as not only to get them booked, but throughout the whole process of working with our couples, because we want them to, of course, feel satisfied with their decision, feel like we were worth the investment. We want them to be delighted. We want them to be overjoyed with the whole experience. We want them to rave about us and leave us with a 5-star review. Okay. So that's all the heady theory that I have to share. Now we're going to get a lot more tangible here. This topic is massive, and I could go on for a long time about how this plays into marketing yourself on your website, on a consultation call with couples, your whole client experience, all of that. Let's narrow our focus back here. How can we use our initial inquiry response to help us avoid getting ghosted and keep couples moving forward? So how can we make our first impression with couples a really good one and use it to communicate as much value as possible so we can keep that higher than the perceived number, the cost, or the price that they're seeing? Because that's how we keep them engaged, keep them moving forward, keep us feeling worth it, right? So let's circle back one more time and put ourselves in the shoes of a couple and understand the decision-making process, right? Because this is going to help us understand what's going to be the best way to respond to an inquiry. How can we meet couples where they're at and design an inquiry response experience that is going to make them feel how we want them to feel so that they can keep moving forward with us? That's what we're designing here. In order to design an experience that is going to meet them with that, meet those emotional needs, we need to understand what those emotional needs are. So let's circle back to imagining being that couple, right? So, I'm going to put myself in the shoes of a couple who is going to elope. I'm an elopement photographer. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm engaged. I'm going to elope. And I have some kind of a vision in mind for my wedding day. And so I'm really looking for a photographer that's going to help me realize that vision from a photography standpoint. So for an elopement specifically, I probably don't have a venue booked yet. So I'm probably looking for a photographer that might help me bring my vision to life, not just by taking photos, but maybe helping me find a location. And so I'm looking for someone who can offer me guidance, tell me, what my day could look like from a timeline perspective, what ideas. I don't know what's possible. I've never done this before. It's all a big mystery to me, and I'm overwhelmed with all the options, right? And of course, I want great photos too. And I care a lot about my day. It is my wedding day. I want it to be reflective of my relationship. So that's my mindset. So when I inquire with a photographer, a good website is going to mean that the value that I think this photographer can provide is higher than that cost. Let's say I see a starting price on a photographer's site. And so when I inquire, I'm at peak engagement, I'm at peak excitement, peak curiosity. And, getting to that point where I'm like, okay, yeah, it's now worth the time to fill in my contact information and actually reach out. I think a lot of photographers don't understand what a big first step inquiring actually is. If you've ever wondered, why there's so many, why so many people browse your website and never inquire, right? It may not be that they're not your ideal client. They could be your ideal client, but they have some kind of a worry or a reason or an objection or a timing issue that's keeping them from reaching out yet, right? So there could be, obviously people there could definitely be people on your website who are there for other reasons. But a lot of the times, even couples who are in your right target market, they do fit that profile of that dream couple having that kind of wedding or elopement day that you're interested in booking. The reason why they might not reach out is it might feel too scary. They might not know, like, oh, maybe I don't have enough figured out yet. And so we can address that on our website. Couples in general know that they probably don't want to bother a photographer and go through the process of reaching out. It's not just the time of filling out the form, but the time of responding to the inquiry email, possibly hopping on a phone call with a couple. They're not going to want to do that until they feel relatively sure, right? And sometimes that takes a couple a long time to decide. So you'll notice maybe couples coming back again and again to your website and then eventually inquiring after a certain period of time. And this is really, really common with wedding and elopement purchasing decisions, because it isn't like you get engaged and the next second you're ready to book a photographer, right? There's this whole process of dreaming and brainstorming and figuring out what kind of day you want to have. You have to make all these kind of bigger decisions first before you're ready to reach out to a photographer. You need to kind of know, what kind of wedding day do I want? Do I want to have a wedding? Do I want to elope? How big is that wedding, or how big is that elopement? Am I inviting family? Am I not? What time of year? Is it this year? Is it next year? What location? Is it going to be indoors? Is it going to be outdoors? Is it going to be warm? Is it going to be cold? Like, is it going to be rugged and adventurous? Is it going to be in a big city? These are all things that you need to figure out before reaching out to a photographer, right? And so, but by the time you actually get to that point of evaluating a photographer and you've identified someone that seems like they align with your vision for your wedding day, and that's why someone would reach out to you versus your competition, is they feel like you understand them, you can empathize with them, you can solve their problems better and be able to help them avoid pitfalls and guide them through the process better than someone else with less experience, who's less customized, who's maybe less niched, who's less specialized, for example. So when I get to the point of inquiring with you, I have a certain level of, like, I have made like a little mini commitment, right? And so when it comes to our inquiry to booking process, we really just want to have couples make little commitments along the path from inquiring with us to going ahead and signing our contract and paying our retainer. And each of those little steps, in order to get couples to bridge that gap, it requires, again, leading with value. At number two, it takes risk. It takes risk and objection handling, making each step feel less risky, and building trust along the way, and helping and making sure a couple trusts us, and that trust is higher than the perceived risk. So let's make this really tangible now. I'm going to go ahead and share. We're going to start with here the contact form. And because how you can respond to an inquiry and this whole experience from start to finish starts with the contact form, right? So when it comes to contact forms, since I filled out 100 of y'all's, I want to talk about things that are important to ask when it comes to contact forms. So first off, there were some of yours that had broken contact forms or unable to find contact forms. So I know that I commented back on a lot of yours, but I highly, highly recommend testing your own website. Like I check mine probably every couple of days, make sure my site is live, make sure that my contact form is visible on my contact page. And I test mine probably once a month. And so I highly recommend, just because that can be a huge, huge issue. And I ran into enough of y'all's websites that their contact form wouldn't work if I hit submit, or I couldn't find it, or it was glitching, or there was like a mess of code instead of your contact form. So I recommend checking that first. So when it comes to a contact form, I want to share what mine looks like here and share like just a couple of things and making sure your contact page is optimized. This is a big part of getting inquiries, but also being able to respond appropriately to an initial inquiry response, right? So first off, it's important that I can see at least a little bit of your form when I go to your contact page. A lot of times, if I end up on a page and it has a ton of information, and I can't see a form anywhere, I might wonder, like, am I on the right page? And if a couple has hit some kind of a call to action button somewhere on your website, and they're ready to inquire with you, and they can't find your form, you're losing inquiries right off the bat. So it needs to be visible in some way without having to scroll when someone hits your contact page. So number two, you want to make your form seem as undaunting and short as possible. So I'm going to go over some very important questions to make sure that you have on your contact form, and three things specifically to make sure that you have are going to be really critical to responding effectively in your initial inquiry response if you don't have it already. But I also want to point out that it's important that you don't make your contact form feel like a long, lengthy application. You need to understand that every single question that you're asking here is very much like a baby, like a little mini baby barrier to a couple inquiring with you. So you want to have as few barriers as possible to getting those inquiries. So what are some things that are a definite you have to? So this left-hand column here, this is the bare minimum that I recommend making sure that you have when it comes to your contact form. So definitely have names, ask for pronouns. You need to be asking, this is the bare minimum information that you need in order to assess whether you are available for, and potentially you need to ask the bare minimum information to make sure that you're available and that you're interested. In an inquiry. So you have to have like where to know, like, is that somewhere that you are available to travel to? Is that a location that you're interested in? Does it align with your specialty? And you have to know when. Key thing here for elopements, if you are trying to get elopement inquiries, you want to make sure that your contact form is elopement friendly. What I mean by that is that instead of saying, what's your venue, that's common for couples having big weddings to know a venue before reaching out to you. But for elopements, the where question might look a little different. They may really be totally up in the air. They don't know, like they don't have a venue. They are kind of looking to you for guidance. And so this is how I phrase it on mine. It's just asking very simply, where do you want to get married? For example, do you have a country in mind? Do you have a state? Do you have a type of scenery? Just be as specific as you can. So I added that part so you don't get the whole like, oh, anywhere. Like it's probably not anywhere. A couple saying anywhere, it might mean anywhere in their state or anywhere in their country. So that's important there. But you want to have an elopement friendly contact form. Don't just say like, what's your venue? Because then a couple might feel like they have to have a venue booked before reaching out to you. Same with the when question. A lot of people had on their contact forms, I had to select a date in order to inquire. And so it's important to know that sometimes couples are willing to be flexible and they don't have an exact date in mind. Instead of responding immediately and saying, oh, I'm unavailable for that date, I like asking for elopement specifically, is your date flexible? When is your time frame? And so the when and where, that's an important part here. So you need to ask those two questions. And then at bare minimum, you need two forms of contact. So pretty much everyone always asks for email. Really, really important. There's a lot of you who don't have, and we're not asking for phone numbers on your contact forms. And so really important, so that I'm going to get to in a second, but it's so that you can text your inquiries, also follow up with them, make sure that they didn't miss your email in their spam. And some couples honestly prefer texting over email, particularly Gen Z. So make sure that you're asking for phone numbers. So these three bolded things right here, these were 3 things that were not in enough of your contact forms, and these 3 things are very important. They're on the definitely, in my opinion, required list when it comes to being able to effectively respond to an inquiry. So making sure you have a phone number here. You cannot text them if you don't know their number. Um, and then number 2, client location. So let me explain this. The way I ask this on my contact form is, "Where are you currently living?" So I wanna know I wanna know, where is this couple local to? So, what city or state or country they're in. The reason why, and, like, you could get around this in other ways. You could just ask for their time zone. This is gonna help you identify when would be a good time to have a consultation call with them, for example. But what's really great about actually knowing where they're based is, it's gonna help you make sure that you can provide specific value right off the bat with your initial inquiry response. For example, if a couple is local to the venue that they're in, you can ask them like, "Hey, have you been to that venue before?" If a couple is not, if the couple is inquiring from a different country than where they say that they want to get married, you know that they're having a destination wedding or they're having a destination elopement, and you automatically right off the bat understand more about the value that you can provide to them and the questions and the worries that they might have in their mind, whether they're local, have they been to it before? Are they coming from out of state? Are they coming from a different country? Are they wanting to get married specifically local, but they don't know where? If they're having a local elopement, is this a Colorado couple wanting to elope somewhere in Colorado, but they don't know? Or is this a couple? Is this a couple from Colorado wanting to get married anywhere in the Western US, but it's not from Colorado? So that's gonna help me know right off the bat, what ways that I can help them and what information is gonna be valuable and communicate my expertise right off the bat. So that's why I really like asking that question and how it makes a huge, huge difference when it comes to being able to, quickly, right from the very get-go, be able to communicate, value. And you also know what time zone they're in, so that's something I highly, highly recommend adding to your contact form. And the last one here is, definitely have at least 1. You don't need to have 10. I wouldn't have more than 3, but you wanna have 1 relationship building or value creation type of question. So, you need this because if you only ask for this, you still have very little to go off of to create a personal connection and create a personalized inquiry response, right? So, that's why, I'll show what these look like on my page. So I ask 2 different ones. I ask couples what is the best adventure they've had together. This ties into my brand, Adventure Instead. It helps me understand what adventure means to them. It helps me understand, like, how experienced of travel, like, of travelers they are, because I photograph destination elopements. If they say something like, "We've been to 20 countries together," like, I know that I need to communicate with that couple a little differently than a couple who's never left the US but is considering an international destination elopement. So this helps me connect with them on something on a personal level, and also, again, understand more about where they're at and how I can communicate that I'm gonna be able to serve them better than my competition. So then, my final question here, this is another relationship building slash value creating question, is couples have intimate weddings and they elope for many different reasons, right? So I like asking, "Why are you considering eloping?" Um, that gives me a lot of information about, what this couple's pain points are. Are they eloping with their family, with a small group of friends or family? Are they eloping just the 2 of them? What were the reasons that they're wanting to have the wedding day that they're having? And so, there's a lot of different ways you can phrase this question. If you photograph big traditional weddings, like, why did you can ask, what are some of your main priorities when it comes to your wedding? Describe the kind of wedding you're looking for in 3 words. You can ask, really something just to get at what's their vision and what are some of their motivators? What are some of the motivators for them having the type of wedding day that they're inquiring with you about? Okay, so that is, the bare minimum stuff with contact forms. Some other things that, I suggest, would be, and this depends on if you only take weddings or elopements of a specific size, or if you photograph both weddings and elopements, it might be really helpful for your initial inquiry response and to also know what type of galleries you want to show to them. For example, galleries, if you know what size of wedding they are asking. So I ask this on my contact form. And then, how did you hear about me? That can be very, very, very helpful from a marketing data tracking perspective. I try to make this question again, I try to make every single one as short, to the point, as simple and easy as possible. I just have a drop down menu so they don't have to like think too hard about it. They can just really quickly select one. And then it's nice. You need to have bare minimum of one. Two is good. I would not do more than three. Again, you don't want to turn your initial inquiry into an application, right? So that is where we are at with contact forms. So let me share an example now. I have another document here. So this is um, an example of a contact form that is too long that I just wanted to show. And again, this is a little bit of an extreme example, and I've redacted names. But I know that a lot of people have long forms, and I just want to show y'all how this looks and how this feels. And imagine you're a couple right now, and you are wanting to inquire. You're on the go. You're on your phone, and this is what you see. So, um, this was an example of a photographer's inquiry to booking experience that I found when I was doing this exercise. So, this is when I clicked on their contact button. This is the page that I got, and I have this. I have. It's hard to see here, but I there was this form that you can see without scrolling down, right? So that's good. And I'm like, okay, first and last name, email, session I want, message. So that's like what I filled out when when I got on their contact page. So I was on their website, I hit contact, filled out this form, and it said send message. So then I got this response from the photographer. And so again, I inquired as Alex and Casey. So this is the email that I got back. It says, Alex Johnson, thank you for your email. Is it, and I think they meant possible. Is it possible for you to inquire using the wedding form on my website? I will link it below. So then this link took me right back to the same page. Took me right back to the exact same page. And but then I was like, "Oh wait, I just filled this out." But then I scrolled down. I didn't even know this form was here, and I found this second form here, and it says this wedding contact form takes 15 minutes. So first off, if I'm a couple on the go and I have a lot of things going on, I'm just trying to plan my wedding, that is a very, very long time. Your contact form should take less than a minute to fill out, if you want to get as many inquiries as possible. And this loop that I was put in by this photographer's inquiry to booking sequence definitely was not ideal from a value creation, seamless process perspective. So, this is the form, FYI, it keeps going, of all of the questions: budget, wedding party, wedding colors, all of this, 15 minutes to complete this form. So that's what I want to talk about when it comes to making sure that you don't have too many questions going on with your contact form. I know that's a little bit of an extreme example, but helpful to share. So that's those are the three things to make sure you have, if you don't have already on your contact form. Make sure you have a phone number. Make sure you ask where the client lives. They'll make more sense when I talk about initial inquiry response. And make sure you have at least one personal connection, relationship building, value creation type of question that's going to help you understand what this couple's needs are, what's most important to them, what their motivators are for having the type of day that they want to have. So now I'm going to go ahead and share some um, inquiry responses and share some of the biggest mistakes. I've narrowed this down to 12 biggest mistakes to avoid. And then I'm going to share some of the best examples and then the two strategies to have the best inquiry responses. So these are the biggest mistakes that I saw. I know said I was going to share 5, but I found 12 common mistakes to avoid when it comes to your inquiry to booking process. So, number one here, I can't tell you how many times the subject line of the email was something to this effect. It was, RE form submission, or RE Squarespace, or RE Squarespace contact form, or RE WordPress submission, or something like that. So what happens here, why this is the case, is if you get your contact form and it pops into your inbox, and that's probably what that email comes to you as, is it has some sort of a subject line like this. And when you had just hit reply to that email, to the couple's email address, and you don't change the subject line, this is probably the least effective, not clickable, not helpful subject line you can have. And it was an enormous amount, probably a solid 25, maybe 25%, maybe a quarter, maybe a third of people are not creating helpful subject lines to your initial inquiry responses. So I definitely suggest creating a fresh email, subject line here. I saw dozens and dozens and dozens of emails that started off with this exact same line. Congratulations on your engagement. If you want to stand out, do not start your initial inquiry email with this. I saw a lot of initial inquiry emails that are essentially, yes, I'm available. Here's my price. Which is, again, you're boiling down your value down to just the functional benefits of saying, like, I am valuable because I am available, and here is my pricing information, with no other additional help. No, like, okay, so what does that mean for me? Like, how can you help me? Like, I'm lost here. Um, and then attaching PDF images. So here are some actual examples, some redacted examples for what these look like, right? So I'll circle back to that kind of summary of mistakes to avoid here. But go ahead and imagine you're a couple. And again, here we go. This RE form submission, Friday, April 28th. This is the subject line of the email. The inquiry that I sent, again, it was Alex and Casey. They were having a 20-person intimate wedding in Yosemite in summer 2024. And to the photographers that asked, there was some personal information that I shared about liking rock climbing, if they asked personal questions on their contact form, and that we had a dog named Boots. So if you got that information in your inquiry form, it means that you were asking questions that were helpful in like getting at that information from us. So this was one of the responses that I got. So it says, "Good afternoon. Thank you for your inquiry. Congrats. I have 2 packages that are available for small hours." So right off the bat, this is assuming that because I'm having a small wedding, I don't want full day documentation. If you're looking to add our hours, I can quote you for a larger package. In addition to the package price, I have a set travel fee of $750. So this is a very good example of how to not lead with value when it comes to an initial inquiry. So they're specifically leading with price really more than anything else. I know nothing about, like, have you been to Yosemite before? Can you help me photograph my intimate wedding? Do you understand me? Do you understand my vision? How are you going to help me with this whole process? And this photographer went ahead and just listed their package price: 2 hours of photography for $850, 3 hours photography for $1,200. If you have a longer hike, I suggest a larger package. And additionally, you're going to get a couple of different types of editing. So they're trying to share some of their value down here. But really, they're leading very much with numbers. And when you lead with numbers, what you do is you kick in a couple's rational side of their brain rather than the emotional side. You're leading with, here's a number, and you're really boiling down your value to the amount of hours that you show up on a couple's wedding day. And the fact that their photos are going to be edited is really limiting to yourself, and really limiting to couples, in the sense that this photographer was great, and I bet they're a super interesting, caring, kind person who takes amazing care of their couples, and I'm not seeing any of that from this initial inquiry response. So this, and then the other issue here is I don't have a very good, clear next steps, a good call to action. Like, what am I supposed to do next? It just says, I'd love to set a time to get more details regarding your wedding so I can better cater the package to your needs. Please reach out. This was just a phone number. So, okay, am I supposed to just call whenever? And it says I'm available to speak when you are. So, um, lots of issues here that are going to uh, come back. So let's look at another one here. Very short. Hello, Alex. Nice to meet you. Thanks for contacting me. If you have some version of like, thanks for contacting me, or thank you for your inquiry, or congratulations on your engagement, if you that's the first line of your initial inquiry email, I'd suggest changing that right now because it is so common and it feels so templated and unpersonalized. So um, first of all, here we go. We have thanks for contacting me. Congratulations on your engagement. I would like to know more about you, what you're organizing. How about set up a video call and we can get to know each other, see how I can help you. Let me know. So this I don't think it's a bad idea to walk through your pricing information with couples on the phone, but this would not be the most effective way to do that. I'll show an effective way to do that in a second, but this email, I'm wondering like what the purpose of it is. There's no personal connection. I've given you all this beautiful information, hopefully in the contact form that could enable you to start communicating your value to me in a personal way. That's the magic of initial inquiry responses. It's our first chance to communicate with a couple personally, to be able to not just say, here's the value I provide in general, but here is exactly how that's going to help you. And if we're not doing that with our initial inquiry email, we might as well just have a call scheduler on our website page and leave it at that. So here's another one here. Congratulations on your engagement. Thanks for considering. My packages begin at 2,500 and go up from there depending on what you're looking for. Would you mind hopping on the phone to chat so I can give you a more specific quote? So again, not bad to just include your starting price and do that, but it's so short. This isn't as many words as I probably put in your contact form. It doesn't make me feel very taken care of. It doesn't make me feel like you're really excited. I'm not building any kind of personal relationship or connection with you. And here's another one. Dear Alex, we're available for your wedding date. The photos we provide are beyond beautiful. The reason why we have top-notch reputation as one of the best wedding photography teams in the country. There's a reason. Take advantage that we're available for your date. There was something about the tone of this email that felt a little bit like, how many of you have read Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller? One of my favorite books when it comes to messaging, marketing, messaging, brand messaging, and also it's very critical here with sales. When we as photographers, when we just talk about ourselves only and we don't and we kind of cast ourselves as the hero of a story, it leaves a couple feeling like, okay, so what's in it for me? So great, I'm glad your photos are beautiful, I'm glad you have a top-notch reputation, the whole take advantage that we're available for your date. This is coming across as not like a nice, helpful, let me come alongside you and help you through this process. I'm getting a little bit of aggression and kind of salesiness from the tone in this initial email. So packages are listed here on the website. Just click on pricing. Let me know which package you'd like. If you're not sure, fill this out. So this was a like kind of a calculator or a guide on figuring out how many hours I need. So it feels a little bit unpersonal. It's like, okay, you want me to figure out how many hours I need? Like, can you help me out with this? I've never done this before. You're creating more work for me here. And then, here I'm sent to another FAQ page. So I'm like, okay, should I go look through these 25 FAQ? And then it's like, okay, or you could click here to schedule a time to talk. So a couple different issues here in that initial inquiry email. Here is one as well. This is one that I want to point out. There was a lot of people who just attached a PDF or an image of their pricing guide to the email. So first off, it causes big formatting issues. This image was so wide. It was like very difficult to see that there was even text in this email. Hi, I do have that date available. What state are you getting married in? Here's a list with my packages, what they include, a little about them. I'd love to talk about what package would be best and show you more of my portfolio. So here's the problem with attaching PDFs and images of your pricing directly into an email. This is how it came through on my end here from Gmail, which is a very common email service provider. This is exactly how it came. One, it popped into my spam immediately, and it says, "This message seems dangerous. Avoid clicking links, downloading attachments." It's because of this attachment here. Google even hid it from me, so it wouldn't show it to me because it flagged it immediately at spam as spam, and it says, "Downloading this email, this attachment is disabled. This email has been identified as phishing. If you wanna download it and you trust the message, click not spam," in the banner up above. So, definitely do not just attach a PDF or attach a JPEG or a PNG of your pricing information to your email. It's the quickest way to send it to spam, and which is a big barrier to couples going ahead and seeing your initial inquiry. That's a big problem there. This one here, one of the issues with it, um, it was not personalized at all. It was talking about planning for Moab when I'm inquiring about Yosemite. Um, and yeah, okay, so those are some of the examples. So circling back here to biggest mistakes. So hopefully this makes more sense now. Change your subject line. Don't start with congratulations on your inquiry. Thanks for your inquiry. Thanks for contacting me. You don't have your email. Essentially, all it communicates is, yes, I'm available. Here's my price. No, we need to be leading with value. I'm going to share what that looks like and some really helpful, good examples of effective responses here in a second. Don't attach a PDF or images of your pricing information. Don't list your full pricing information just as here's my hours, here's my price in the email itself. I will say you might have seen it in a few of those examples. I saw a lot, even a very good examples of initial inquiry responses where there was 4 or 5 different fonts, sizes, or types of fonts throughout the whole email. It looked almost like a ransom note at a certain point, where what happens is, if depending on how you're copy pasting your email information from a template from somewhere else and then customizing certain parts of it, it's really kind of a dead giveaway that it's a template if there's like a mix of fonts and you have like half a sentence that's personalized in a bigger font or in a different font. It starts to look really, really strange. So that's something you can test yourself. Inquiries that were way too short made it feel like, did you even bother putting any time into responding to me? That's not a great way to start out a red carpet, high incline experience feeling, or something that was way too long. This was less common. Probably more of the issues were along the way, way, way too short, like some of the ones that I just shared. Um, on the way too long side, part of it was not the length, but just the whole thing was one wall of text, one block of paragraph, no formatting. You want to make sure that you are breaking it out. I'm going to show some very good examples of that in a second. Emails with no personalization, no way of me understanding. Can you empathize with me? Can we start building a personal connection, building a personal relationship? Our initial inquiry response is our first impression with a couple. And really, it's this process of couples inquiring with us and us talking to couples in our consent calls, it's a little bit weird if you actually think about it, because it's really more like a first date than a job interview in the sense that, you know, we like couples out there are all looking for, okay, who am I going to like enough to have be almost basically a third wheel for the majority of my wedding day? And how, like, they're going from like this person is a stranger to this person is going to be like, I'm going to pay this person thousands and thousands of dollars for, on the hope that they're going to help me and show up to my wedding day before I've ever seen a photo that they've taken of me. And I'm just going to trust that, right? So there's a huge amount of risk there. And if we don't include any kind of personalization that's going to show that we can empathize with them, help them start to like us, likability is a big factor when it comes to sales. And so don't discount it. Don't assume that your website, your social media is doing all the work here. The initial inquiry response it's a massive missed opportunity to develop a personal connection. So if you're not doing that, make sure that you do. No value given, no communicating like my authority, expertise, why I should trust you. A lot with no obvious clear call to action or next steps, and a lot with no call scheduler, meaning that they say like, hey, let me know if you want to hop on the phone. I saw a lot of that. I saw a lot of like the next steps to hop on the phone, like Here, like, when are you available? And we're starting to create this like additional steps in our inquiry to booking process and making it less efficient. We have to email back and forth. That's a pain. Versus just having whether there's so many different kinds of call schedulers out these days, whether you want to use Calendly or Dubsado or Honeybook, use your CRM, use a call scheduler. It saves so much time, makes it so much easier for couples to move to the next step in your process. So now I am going to go ahead and share. Now that we've gone over what not to do, we'll go over what to do when it comes to your initial inquiry responses. These are the two strategies that I want to share here. That are very important. So the first strategy that I want to share is going to be the most effective for you if you get less than 15 inquiries per month. And so why does that matter? I'm going to share what to do if you have more than 15 and what to do if you have less than 15. And there's a small difference here. Um, so if you get less than 15 inquiries per month, it means that you are getting less, getting maybe one every other day, or less. You're getting 3 a week, maybe at maximum. So if you're getting 3 inquiries a week or less, then this is going to be the strategy that is going to help you book as many of those inquiries as you're getting as possible. So this is going to be the strategy that's going to stand out the most. And if you're getting more than 15 inquiries per month and you need a process that is pre-qualifying couples a little bit more and minimizing the amount of phone calls that you have to handle, and you need an additional step of pre-qualification. I'm going to talk about what that means here in a second. Then you can use strategy number 2. But if you're getting less than 15 inquiries a month, and full disclosure, I most of the time use strategy number 2 because I get 60 to 100 inquiries a month. But when I was first starting out, and every single inquiry I got, I wanted to book, and I wanted to give the highest chance possible of booking. This is a refined, grown-up version of the best way to do that. So this is something that I have tested extensively. This is also something that I have started doing the last 12 months for inquiries that I really wanted to book. I've been actually doing a mix of strategy 1 and strategy 2. So this has been battle tested by me a lot over the last 12 months as couples have become more price sensitive. And so I've pretty much A/B tested every single step of this process. So let's start over here. So you want to start with your optimized Let me just do this overview first. I'm going to break down each step specifically. Start with your optimized contact form, like we talked about. When a couple hits submit or hits send message or whatever it says on your contact form, they need to be redirected to a thank you page. I'll share more about that in a second. That will communicate that their form went through. And then this is something here. This is something new that I've been testing that's been decreasing ghostings, increasing email open rates, and increasing responses, is to go ahead and set up an automated email response from the same email address that you will respond to them personally once you review their inquiry and check for availability. But this automated response, I'll share why that's really helpful here in just a second. Then this is something you do, is then you have time to review the inquiry and check their availability. So this all happens all at once when someone inquires, automated. And then this is a manual step that you do. You review their inquiry, see if you're interested in it, see if you're available for it. Then this is your first manual step in the process, which is to send a customized, personalized, valuable email that demonstrates your expertise. I'm going to get into the details of what this looks like in a second, demonstrates how you're going to help, shows full gallery examples. And here's the key here. It needs to have your next steps, a reason why the next step of moving forward with you in your inquiry to booking process is getting on a consult call with them, whether you do video or whether you do phone, how to do consult calls, and all of that is such a massive topic. But consult calls, I can say 100% for sure. If you are not doing calls with your couples, you are leaving money on the table. I can 100% promise that. Consult calls are how, from day one of being an elopement photographer, a couple inquiring for 2 hours of photos ends up booking me for 8 or 12 or multiple days. My average booking rate for elopements right now for 2024 is my average booked package price is $14,000, and 100% of that has to do with this consult call. So saying in that initial email that the next steps is getting on a consult, explaining the reasons for that are beneficial to the couple, which I'll share in a second, including, again, your starting price, suggesting a good time for the consult, including your call scheduler, and giving them a heads up that you're also going to text them. And then going ahead and following up with a personalized text message with a video message from you and that same information of a suggested time for the consult and a call scheduler. So, this is the overall flow of an initial response strategy that is going to lead to the least amount of ghostings and the most value creation as much as possible. So, let me dive into each one of these pieces one by one now that I've gone over the flow. So, let's start with the contact form. So, what happens when you fill out a form? This is something that I noticed on a lot of photographers' sites is when I hit submit or send or whatever the button was on the bottom of the form, that there were several forms where basically all the information that I had just filled out went blank. And I was like, wait, where did it go? I just spent, 60, 90 seconds, whatever it was, filling out this form. And when I hit submit, it just deleted all the information. I was like, did it go through? So remembering when I'm a couple on your website and I'm filling out your form, I'm so excited at that point. I've gone into the effort of filling out your form, doing that self-reflective process, writing out all these things. And it is a huge emotional letdown. It feels like, oh, like if when I hit send, nothing happens. Sometimes it would look like it just glitched to a blank page. And what I realized is that if I scrolled back up, there was a tiny little success written right here, but this whole form was gone. So there was a lot of forms that when I hit send, when I hit submit, nothing happened, or it looked like it deleted or it glitched. I was really not entirely sure if it went through or not, and nothing happened. I didn't get redirected anywhere. I wasn't sure if it went through. I didn't get an email. I knew nothing. So that can immediately make your first impression fall flat if you don't have a thank you page. So that's what's really key here. So why, as soon as a couple fill out your contact forms, a big part of your initial response experience is they need to be redirected to a thank you page. So I'm going to share one of what my thank you pages looks like. So this is what happens when a couple submits my form and they end up on a thank you page. It says, yay, your message has hit our inbox. What happens now? So this is letting them know what to expect and telling them to go ahead and check their email. And then it says what they can do in the meantime. They can check out helpful blog posts. They can follow me on Instagram, stuff like that. So I want to share more information of like what you can do on that thank you page. It's important that it's customized to you. So what information you should include on a thank you page. You need to, at the bare minimum, and go ahead and write this down if you don't have a thank you page, is you need some sort of confirmation that their inquiry went through. You need some sort of explanation of the next steps and the expectations. Like, when should they expect to hear back from you personally? And what do you want them to do right now? Like, it's a very big missed opportunity to not capitalize on that excitement they're feeling that second that they inquire. So you want to reassure them, I got your message. Here's what's going to happen next. I'm going to reach out to you from this email address. So check your inbox, and then what you want them to do in the meantime. And then if you have, you can ask them to follow you on Instagram. You can share some additional resources with them if you have some helpful blog posts. And so that is what you want to have on your thank you page. Another thing that is really helpful here, and again, like I said, bringing back this thing again, let's talk about this automated email response. So I have tested this back and forth many, many times, and I've gone back and forth several times over the years about this automated email response. At first, I thought, I don't like the idea of an automated response because it feels unpersonalized. I don't want the first thing a couple gets from me to not feel personalized. But there's a huge, huge benefit to having this automated response that I want to share, which is that if you do have an automated email response, this is what's really, really great, is on your thank you page. So Couple fills out your form, they hit submit. The second they hit submit, they're redirected to the page that says something like, got your inquiry, here's what to do now. And in the here's what to do now, it says, check your email. So here's the magic of setting up an automated email response. And this is what I've been testing over the last 12 months. And it has massively increased the amount of opens, because I track my open rates for initial inquiry emails. Way less couples like basically never open the initial inquiry response. And the reason a couple wouldn't open initial inquiry response, the number one reason is it ends up in their promotions or their spam folder. So what's great about having an automated email response, and it can be really, really simple. Honestly, it's very short. It has the same information as your thank you page. It basically says, thanks so much. I got your inquiry. I'm going to be checking my schedule and getting back to you as soon as possible. Here's when you can expect a reply from me, and here's what you can do in the meantime. So that automated email has the exact same information as the thank you page. It's really short and sweet. What's nice about that is then you can get couples to check their email immediately. So if your email address, for some reason, when a couple gets your email from your domain, if it ends up in their spam or it ends up in their promotions, they know the second they inquire with you, it says, check your email. They're going to go to their email. And if you tell them check your spam and promotions, they're going to check their spam and promotions. And what happens when they open your email and they mark it not as spam and they move it out of their promotions folder into their inbox, and you want your automated email to tell them to do that, like, hey, if this ended up in your spam or promotions, go ahead and move it to your inbox so you make sure that you get my response when I reply to you. So this has been really helpful, and I've added this step because it's really, really worth it to reduce the amount of spam and promotions folders, because Gmail gets, which is the most common email service provider, it's getting more and more aggressive every single year. Gmail has an algorithm just like anything else, and it decides based on a multitude of factors whether it's going to send the email that you send to someone to their main inbox, to their promotions, or to their spam. And so if you want to avoid that possibility of a couple never seeing your email because it's in their promotions or spam, try doing this, setting up an automated email, same information as your thank you page that tells them to move it to their inbox. So they've already got an email from you. They have moved it out of your promotions or your spam, and it's just another reassurance that their form went through, and another data point of like, this photographer has a seamless experience. They have their stuff together. They're a professional, and they know, and you know exactly when you're going to get a response. So that is the thank you page and the automated email response. So then what do you do next? Then you review their inquiry and you check for your availability. So now let's talk about this personalized email response and what this looks like. So and I'll share, there's some great examples. There's some very effective initial inquiry responses. When it comes to initial inquiry responses, what are some very important things to include, when you should send it, and let's talk about subject lines and some additional things to keep in mind. So what to include in your initial inquiry email. So one of the biggest things is you want to make sure that your first paragraph, your opening line, your very first impression when a couple opens your email is a completely customized first paragraph. So avoid thanks for your inquiry, thanks for reaching out, thanks for contacting me, congratulations on your engagement. Anything that sounds like you could have said that to any couple under the sun who inquires with you. Make the first statement that you share to like the first thing that you say to a couple be really personalized. So let me share an example of a couple that I thought did a really good job at this for Alex and Casey's inquiry. And it says, "Hi, Alex. I'm super excited you reached out. I think they could have super excited you reached out. OMG Boots, that's the name of the dog. So they had that in their contact form. OMG Boots is such a cute dog name. What breed are they? I have 2 Bernese Mountain Dogs myself, though I'm sure they're not as adept as your dog. If you're bringing them on your adventures, they do snuggle the best. I can't wait to meet Boots on our call." So right off the bat, you are being personalized. You're massively increasing your likability factor in my mind. I share with you that I have a dog. You're talking about your dogs. Dog people bond over their dogs all the time. Then they're talking about my specific wedding location right off the bat too. Yosemite's jaw dropping. It's So, and honestly, it's the perfect backdrop for your wedding. I love giving realistic expectations to couples right up front so there's no surprises later on. So, here's a few logistical things that I want to chat through when we hop on a call. First, just so you know, they have predetermined wedding sites. So, depending on what backdrop you want, there's something for everyone. I can help you narrow it down. Second, Yosemite doesn't allow pets to attend weddings. However, we can definitely still take pictures of you two in boots back at your Airbnb and include them that way. I personally love getting photos of interaction with the doggos. Lastly, I do need to chat with about Mother Nature in terms of wildfire smoke, road closures. Glacier Point Road can also close due to storms, and wildfire season tends to be unpredictable. However, this is where we'll talk about backup options just in case the air quality or location is unsafe. We can pivot easily. You still have amazing photos of your day. So I want to point out several smart things that this photographer has done in their initial inquiry response. So personalization, number one. I know that none of this feels templated at all to me. This feels like this photographer has put in the effort to send me a personalized response. It's showing me right off the bat that they care, which is a big, big, big piece here. Um, Number two, they are predicting problems that might not even be aware of before they arose, and they already solved them for me right off the bat in this initial inquiry email. This is very, very effective. And I inquired about a 20-person wedding in Yosemite with a dog for a reason. I was looking to see if a photographer was going to tell me and like how they were going to potentially handle that Yosemite doesn't allow dogs. And I think they did a very, very effective job here of saying, like, I love dogs. They have predetermined wedding sites, but I'm going to help you narrow it down. You're communicating a huge amount of authority and expertise right off the bat in an initial inquiry email. This is what going the extra mile and communicating value looks like. And so this is very, very effective here. And so saying like, they don't allow pets to attend weddings, that's not making me feel negative about the photographer. That's what really Yosemite has. I actually feel great about this photographer because they are letting me know right up front and they're giving me a solution of like, oh, we could take photos before or after. Um, and then also saying, like, this is showing me that they have a huge amount of expertise and experience when it comes to Yosemite. They know what potential problems can pop up, and they're already telling me, like, we can talk about backup options and pivot easily. I'm feeling like very, very taken care of by this photographer right off the bat from the way that they're leading with value and treating me as if like I've already hired them and helping me before I've even gotten a chance to talk with them. So that's a really, really effective example here of exactly what I mean by making sure that you're including a completely customized start, that first paragraph communicating genuine excitement, uh, really showing like, hey, you're a real human being here. This is not just a templated, generic, corporatized response that every single couple under the sun is going to get. That's how you create a high-end red carpet experience right off the bat. It makes me feel like, you're a real human. I get to like you. You're communicating empathy, and you're providing information that's valuable to me as a couple. You're predicting problems. You're answering questions that I might have had and answering questions that I didn't even know that I had or maybe didn't even know to ask. And, you are showing expertise right off the bat. So those are the first two things you need to make sure as at the very beginning of your initial inquiry responses when you get to that personalized email response. Completely customized first paragraph. Show that you're a real human being that's excited, that cares about their wedding day, increase your likability. Make sure you're also clear that you're available pretty early on in the email, but you want to communicate it in a way that isn't like I'm available any day of the year, of just saying like, wow, it's like really lucky that I am available, or I'm available for this specific part of next summer. So I wanted to see how photographers handle that because I specifically, and when I inquired, I said summer 2024. And so, just like dating, you don't want to come across as too available or too desperate. You want to communicate a little bit of scarcity in your initial inquiry emails, but you don't want to go so far scarce that it starts to feel manipulative or too salesy or too aggressive. And so, once you've communicated that personalization, and the second thing is make sure you're communicating information that is valuable. Number three is communicate exactly how. And it's better to show instead of tell. show how you're actually going to help them in the process. So, what besides photos are you bringing to the table here? Remember that nothing is obvious. I'm going to bring back this photographer's inquiry here, and you can see what they did next. So this is a very good example of communicate of showing of explaining and not assuming that a couple understands their value. So they're saying, now for the details. I know planning elopement can feel like a lot, empathy, but guess what? Since elopements are more unique and a little out of the box, I don't believe my job starts and ends with photography. While I'm not a planner, I am first and foremost a photographer. I believe I'm here to help you bring your day to life, to be your adventure buddy, be your documentary storyteller, to photograph all your exciting moments and everything in between. Beyond the camera, you can count on me to be a consultant in your wedding planning process. I'm going to go quickly through these location ideas. You're going to receive this how to leave no trace guide from me. I'm going to assist you with your permit application, recommend local vendors, create a customized timeline. If you need more time, you can add additional hours. There's no additional travel fees. I can officiate your wedding. You can add a second photographer if you want for an additional fee. And so so these are things that I know a lot of photographers do. But if you're not specific, if you don't share it, if you don't list it out, one, you're assuming that they read and understood every single part of your website. But remember, couples can inquire from you probably directly from Instagram or from social media, and they may have not even. Don't ever assume someone's read every inch of your pricing page or read every inch of your website. You want to now roll out the red carpet for them in your inquiry booking process. And so I feel like by very taken care of, and it's very clear here, and look at how many bullet points there are. Bullet points are great instead of putting this all in a wall of text. I do think maybe bolding some of these headings might make it even more clear. And I think I would probably say go ahead and take the prices out. Probably not needed right here. Like right here at the step, I don't need to know exactly how much that added time costs. I don't need to know how much the second photographer costs. I would just include just the whole value stack itself. This is what leading with value looks like. I haven't gotten to, besides these little prices here, I haven't hit a big number yet that I'm like, whoa. And what's great is before I see whatever this photographer is communicating about pricing, they are already giving me and raising that perceived value in my mind, like hugely. And so I already have so much more trust with this photographer. So when I look at their pricing, they have massively increased their empathy and authority and expertise in my mind, from what I got just from their website, because they've made this personal to me and they've gone ahead and solved my problems before we've even gotten a chance to talk. So then they ask about getting onto a call. So that's their call to action. And then here's my pricing guide. Don't worry about picking a package. It's something I want to help you to decide on a call. I'm excited to work with you. Cheers to you too. So that's a very good example. I'm going to share a few more of a very effective initial inquiry response. So once you have the only thing I'd say what was missing, I don't think they had them in here, was some example galleries. That's something that is really helpful. And again, it's another way to increase that perceived value, right? And specifically, if you can include gallery examples that are as close to the type of wedding that couple inquired for as possible. So actually personalizing what gallery examples you are sending to them. That's something that's really great to share with initial inquiries because, again, it increased that perceived value. They're not going to get that sense and they're not going to be motivated to scroll through 500 images on a blog. That's, not going to be best practice for your website. They, get a little snippet of it here and there from your Instagram or your portfolio, but really being able to, there's a huge amount of power of being able to show a couple of full gallery of images that they can see themselves in. And that's also a very big part of making sure that you're on the same page fully stylistically. And you have your expectations set up for success in the best way possible from the very beginning as well. So back to this personalized email. And for this strategy number one, when you're getting less than 15 inquiries a month and you want to quote like squeeze the juice out of every single inquiry, get the highest possible chance that a couple is going to book you, and lower the chance that they're going to ghost you. Once you the change that I would suggest, actually, let me just teach it like this. So, when you get to the next step point, so this is something that I would highly suggest trying out if you are getting ghosted a lot from your initial inquiry response. So, besides doing all of this, which is going to help a ton, um, don't try te- test it out. I was very, very surprised how effective this was. Test out not including a link to your full pricing guide right away in your initial inquiry response. So, I know that that's a little bit of potentially a unpopular opinion, but here is why. Here's what happens. Um, Similar to your website, and again, circling back to we always want to keep our perceived value higher than the number a couple is considering at that point. So when they would, if we have just our starting prices on our website and we include here's everything that is included, and in all of my packages, here's everything that I'm going to do for you. Here is my starting price. For example, I'll actually show how this plays out on my website. That'll probably make a little bit more sense. So here's how it's laid out on my website. So this is my pricing page. So if you hit pricing, when you get to my page, I'm talking about all the ways that I'm gonna provide value to you, right? I have reviews. Here's perks of working with me, talking about the value of an all-day elopement, um, and getting to like, here's what you're gonna get in every single package. You're gonna get your photo coverage, all your images, complimentary album design, location ideas, vendor suggestions, timeline, planning resources, permanent assistance, all of this, and then they see the starting price. So this is starting price for international, starting price for US, starting price for Oregon, and then for Colorado. And it has very clearly what is included. But this is just the starting price. This is kind of the minimum investment that a couple is going to spend when they work with me. So that is like enough pre-qualification and enough information that you're not going to piss off couples by having zero information about pricing on your website, which does annoy people. So, but by having a very value forward pricing page with just a starting price, then if you in your initial inquiry email do all of what I just shared, it's customized, it's valuable, problem solve, you reassert the value that you're going to provide, tie that to how that's going to help them specifically. You got full gallery examples. So then here's what you can do here with your next steps. Instead of including just a link to your pricing guide that then has your starting price, but then all of your other packages that might be much, much, much higher, and having the couple right off the bat just assume, oh, like I am not sure what one I need, or they start to see a number that because they haven't gotten a chance to talk to you, because remember who you are, that personal connection and your personal ability to meet them where they're at and problem solve with them, that's a massive amount of the value that you're able to communicate to a couple. And you just can't do that just on a website and just an initial inquiry email. It's so much more effective on a consultation call. So give this a try. Give it a try of taking out the link to your full pricing guide. Even if you have a very effective value forward pricing guide, which I do, give it a shot. Take it out of your initial inquiry email and instead share it with couples in the next step section that it's time to get on a call. So, and it's important here to give a reason rather than it just feeling like you're randomly withholding pricing information to be salesy. So that's key here. So you have to give a reason for a call. So here's a way that you can do that in initial inquiry email. You can say, so every day is so different and unique. So let's hop on a call so I can hear about exactly what your needs are, what matters most to you. Then I can give you personalized suggestions about what options are going to be the best fit for you two. If you are a photographer where like maybe you have set packages, but if a couple wants, if you have like an 8 and a 12-hour package and a couple wants a 10-hour, if you are open to doing like a customized 10-hour package, you can even say like, and I often create custom quotes for couples. So there needs to be a reason for you to not just send the pricing guide right away. So being able to communicate it as a service, as a like, hey, I'm not going to make you go do a bunch of extra work and try to figure out on your own exactly what's going to be the best fit for you and exactly if I'm the best fit for you at all. Like, let's just hop on a quick, no pressure call. I'm going to provide this service to you so that, and like, I'm going to walk you personally through all of this. And so, I know there's a lot of information just to sort through. There's some very big decisions to make. I want to make this easy, stress free. This is going to be no pressure. So that's what you can say under the next step section of like, here's a reason that we need to get on a call next. And then you can restate that starting price again because you've already just communicated, here's all the things that I do, just like you did on a value forward pricing page on your website. And then you can restate that starting price. So they're still all on the same page. And then you, again, give a suggested call time and a call scheduler. And then give them a heads up that you're going to also text them. So let me bring this back. So this is what I'm talking about here. So you give that reason for the consult, restate your starting price after you've already shared exactly what's in your packages again and how you're going to help them. Give them a suggested time for that consult. That's why knowing where they're located is. You can suggest a sensible time in their time zone, include a call scheduler so you don't have to go back and forth, and then give them a heads up that you're going to text them. So why text? Why also send a text message? Number one, again, it's possible that a couple didn't check their email right away and that they didn't move your automated response out of their spam or out of their promotions folder. And it's possible that your personalized email will end up in their spam or their promotions folder. So the text message is your second form of communication with them, and they've given it to you in your contact form. And the personalized text is one other great thing here is it's a much smaller gap from a text message to a phone call than an email to a phone call because you're already communicating with them on your phone number and on their phone number. It's very easy for them to, shoot you a quick text back. Some couples massively prefer texting over emailing. It's easier for them. The other really nice thing here, you can send them a video message. So this video message, all it is, it's a verbal of your personalized email. You can literally send this email and then basically pull out your phone, read the email to them. It's the same thing. Hey, here's who I am. I was excited to get your inquiry. Yosemite's awesome. Here's how I'm going to help you. I just sent you some galleries to your email. I'd love to hop on the phone with you next. Here are all of your needs and what's going to be the best fit for you and walk you through everything so you don't have to figure it out on your own. I know you're busy, so it'll be quick and it's no pressure. It's not, you don't have to make any decisions on the call. And you're able to go ahead and put a face to a name here. So that's what's really great about a video message. So highly recommend if you can do it personally. You can do a personalized one for each inquiry. And this is why I said this strategy is smart if you get less than 15 inquiries a month, because otherwise this can start to get quite time intensive to do personalized video messages for every single couple. Tip here, you can do an unpersonalized one. You can kind of fake it in the way that you can with an initial inquiry email. It's not as effective, but you can have a generic one that you send to every single couple. So you record it once. That actually is what I do. So couples get a text message from me that is a pre-recorded video message because again, I get 60 to 100 inquiries a month, but I still want them to be able to put a face to the name. So I hate being on video, I actually do. But I sucked it up once, recorded a video message of me saying, hey, I'm Maddie Mae from Adventure Instead. I was so excited to get your inquiry. I just sent you this information. Next step is a hop on a call, etc. So it's just a less personalized version. But then I can go ahead and send that in bulk to, 60 to 100 inquiry responses a month. And then still has that suggested time and a call scheduling link. So this is going to be the most effective way to respond to initial inquiry to keep couples from ghosting you right away. And then when you get on a call with them, that's when you can send them your full pricing guide information after talking to them, really understanding exactly what they need for their day. I can't get into phone calls as much as I would love to right now, how to walk through that consult call. But then the consult call is the magic point where you can communicate, you can learn exactly what they need. You can answer their questions. You can do what that photographer did in that email form, but live and in a more impressive way where you can ask them questions, predict problems, solve things, show your expertise, show your experience, and build a personal connection with them paint a verbal picture of what their day could look like, help them imagine what a timeline of it could look like, and then by the time you get towards the end of the call and you text them that link to your pricing guide and they open it up on their phone or open it up in their email and you walk through it with them. If you're on the phone call, they're looking at the same screen you are. If you're on a video consult call with them, you can share your screen and walk them through each of your options. It's this personalized handheld red carpet experience that a lot of high-end service providers do. And this is the case whether you are an like architects do this, high-end designers do this, high-end planners do this, pretty much like a lot of high-end custom service providers. This is how you like communicate how your service is customized and specifically tie it to directly to a couple's needs. And you can do that on a call so much more effectively than you can in an email. So I do phone calls with couples most of the time. But I know a lot of photographers prefer video calls, and that can be very effective as well. So that's strategy number one. And then I want to share an example of an inquiry response from a videographer actually, who did this really, really well. So it says, "Hey Alex, thanks so much for getting in touch and congratulations on the big day." So I do think that they could do some more work here with a more personalized first line, more personal connection. But this is very short and to the point. I do think it was still effective. I do still have that date open. We know that you're probably searching the internet right now trying to find the perfect fit. This is communicating empathy. We know how stressful this can be. So we wanted to make it as easy as possible for you to see if we're the right fit. So a little bit short. I think they could be doing a little bit more, talking about Yosemite, something like that. Communicate. Just give me a little bit more information. Like, why are you interested in photographing my day? Have you been to Yosemite before? Like, what's your expertise or experience in the area? I think a little bit more could have done that here, but I think it's still good. And then it says, since every couple in elopement is unique, let's hop on a call or schedule a Zoom, whatever's best for you. This is great because you're letting me pick how I like to be communicated with so that you can tell us what people and details mean the most to you and what you want to look back on your video and see. From there, we'll suggest options tailored to fit your wants and needs perfectly, which includes 2 videographers and full day coverage. And again, they're restating their starting price. So a little bit short. I think they could do a little bit more for personal connection and value creation here in this email. But this is like actually very effective. I am not going to get scared away from an initial inquiry response by seeing the same number that I saw on a website when I inquired. And you've given me a really clear, simple, kind explanation for why a call is the next step, and you've made it matter to me. So that's what I think is really effective about this email. And then it says, simply click on the button below to schedule a quick chat. We can answer all your questions. We'll show you why video is the number one thing couples regret not having, or not having done well for them on their wedding day. I don't know. I go back and forth on this one. I think it feels maybe a little bit pushy. I think it's important to let couples know what the stakes are. But I think it could be done of like, we can show you a couple of things that will help you avoid some mistakes other couples have with their or have made with their wedding video or something like that. It could be just softened slightly, and then book appointment. And I think this is great. We promise it's painless. We're not here to force you into a sale. Rather, we know how important it is for you to find the right fit for one of the most important vendors that you choose. Can't wait to chat. So I think that one, again, some little tweaks here and there, but I think that was when I got that response and imagining being a couple wanting to hire a videographer, I was like, yeah, like that makes a lot of sense. I feel very taken care of, and I'm excited to hop on a call with them and get that, like someone just walking me through it personally. I don't have to read another thing and try to sift through it and sort through information and try to figure this out all on my own. Like it makes me feel very, very taken care of. So I thought that was a very good example as well. That is number one. I'm going to quickly share number two, and then I'm going to open up for questions. So strategy two, it's going to not take me very long to share it all because it's actually very similar to strategy one. The difference here is really just this. So it starts off the same. If you're now getting more than 15 inquiries per month. And here, like this number, it's going to depend on you and your lifestyle design and how busy you are. And here's the thing, you can flip between strategy one and strategy two, depending on the season and also depending on how interested you are in the inquiry and how much you want to book them. So that's actually what I do is I have a mix of strategy one and strategy two, depending on how crazy busy I am. If I'm really busy and I don't have the time to hop on a call and I need to pre-qualify couples a little bit more to save me a little bit of time, then I'll do strategy two. If I'm like not too busy, and even though I get 60 to 100 a month, I'm like, oh my God, I want to book this one so freaking bad. I'm going to do strategy one. So strategy two starts the exact same way. So this, I don't need to teach this again, this exact same thing, contact form, redirect to a thank you page, automated email response, all the things, review the inquiry, check availability, personalized email. It starts off the exact same. The only difference here is that you still share a reason for a consult, but then you go ahead and link to a pricing guide. So this link, I looked at a lot of y'all's pricing guides. That's a whole nother whole nother workshop. Um, there were some great ones. I'd see the most effective ones that I saw were either custom built in like Honeybook or Dubsado, like proposals, or they were hidden pages of your website. So this is important that it needs to be something that is mobile friendly. Uh, so it needs to be device responsive. So I don't recommend linking a PDF because there's no PDF on earth that's going to look amazing both on desktop and on mobile. But what's nice about building a page into your website, for example, I know this is my public facing pricing page, um, but if I look at this on a phone, it's going to be, it's built on my website. So it's going to be mobile responsive. So you can have a hidden, no indexed orphan page of your website. So a page of your website that's hidden, you can't find it by searching. It's not linked anywhere on your website. It's a pricing guide. You probably remove the navigation from it. But whether they look at it and open that link on a desktop or on a mobile device, it's going to look really, really good. And it's going to walk them through all of your different package options, which ideal amount is 3 to 4 package options from a pricing psychology standpoint. And then again, saying like, you don't need to have this all figured out. I want to walk you through it on a phone. But this is adding like one more step of pre-qualification. What I want to communicate here about pre-qualifying couples, pre-qualifying is for us. It is not for our couples. Pre-qualifying saves us time. It does not communicate our value better. It is intentional when we want to lower the amount of couples that we get on a call with, and when us like giving it our all to communicate as much value as possible on a phone, and then not knowing 100% whether or not they're going to book us at the end of us giving them an hour of our time. So that's why if you're getting more than 12, 15 inquiries a month and you're available for a lot of them, then you're not going to physically have the time. You could definitely get burnout by getting on too many calls and them really only being interested in your starting price, and then realizing that they actually need more like one of your middle packages. And because that does happen some of the time, and that's going to happen some of the time with strategy one. But if you're getting less than 15 a month, this is going to result in more bookings every day of the week. This is going to definitely still result in bookings. And this is what I do because of the sheer inquiry volume that I have. And I have to lower the inquiry to booking rate because I can't physically get on a call with that many couples. So change it out. Instead of just sharing your starting price, have a link to a high value pricing guide. And this personalized text, like I said, you can do a pre-filmed video. There's also ways to set this up as an automation that when you send this email, it'll send a text. Go ahead and have it automated. I have mine set up with Twilio to go ahead and send an automated text with a video message. And some personalized information that I already filled out in a couple's email. So finally, here's a great way for you to go ahead and self-evaluate your inquiry to booking process. Then I'm going to go ahead and open up for all of your questions. So to self-evaluate your inquiry to booking process, here's what you should try. Open your website, go to your homepage, do it on your phone. That's more than 50% of couples are browsing your website and filling out your form on a phone. Go ahead and see how easy it is to find your contact form. How many clicks and scrolls does it take you? Is it crazy obvious and easy to find. Is your contact button everywhere? Is it easy to find your form? Then go ahead and fill out your contact form on your phone. See how long it takes you. See if there's any questions that are not that necessary. You don't need to know that information right now. It's not going to actually help you respond in a way that's creating value to a couple. You can ask questions like who's in your wedding party and what your wedding colors are and what led you to my work. You can ask that once they've booked you. You don't need to know it right now. Um, then go ahead and hit submit on your form, see what happens. Do you have a thank you page? Does it look like a glitch? Do this both on your phone and on your website, see what happens. Make sure that they're being redirected to something. It's clear the form went through, it didn't glitch. Build out a thank you page, make sure that you have that. Then send your initial inquiry response to yourself. Go to your inbox, open it up on your phone and on your laptop. See, is it overwhelming? Is it underwhelming? How's the formatting? Is it easy to digest? Is it clear? Is it obvious what to do next? Have you avoided all of these 12 mistakes here? Make sure you have a personalized subject line that's going to entice someone to click on it. Make sure they know, like, oh, that's because I inquired with that one photographer. A really easy one is couple's name, wedding location, and your business name. And do you have a mix of fonts? Does it look weird? Do you have long paragraphs? Is it really clear and obvious what you want the couple to do next? So that is going to be the best way to make sure that you can ingrain all this information and that you are being as effective as possible